Meet Kim, a recreational tennis player who ordered a video analysis lesson from me on her serve. If while watching this lesson you think to yourself, boy, I'd love to have Ryan make me one of these for my game, send me an email, ryan@2minutetennis.net, letting me know, and I'll give you all the details. Hi, Kim. It's Ryan from 2minutetennis.net. Hey, thank you so much for the opportunity to do this video analysis lesson for you on your serve. So before we get to your areas for improvement, let's go over a few things that I think are really great about your serve so you know to keep doing them. And the first idea is the height of your toss. So your toss is not high at all, and I love that. Let me explain how I know. What I like to do is put the ball near the top of the head, which we've got here, and then I run a timer. And I run the timer from now until contact. And what I like to see is that the timer reads anywhere from 0.6 to 0.9 seconds. That is the range of acceptability. And if we run the timer for you at this moment until contact, you can see your 0.69, 0.7 in that range. That's amazing. So your toss is low, and that's a good thing because it means it gets to be consistent. It means it's easy to hit the sweet spot. And it also means that you're giving yourself less time to swing. And if you toss really high and you give yourself a lot of time to swing, well, then you got to swing slowly, and that's not good. So I want you to be able to swing quickly, whether you want to make the ball curve or make the ball travel fast or really both. Having a low toss really allows for this. You can see the ball peaks right there, and then it drops maybe 10 inches at the most. Incredible. I rarely see players tossing it around 0.7 seconds in that range between 0.6 to 0.9. What I usually see is players have a toss that is so high that it's over a second, like 1.1, 1.15, 1.2 seconds, because the ball goes up to the moon. So fantastic job with having a toss that's not very high because it gives you less time and you get to speed up your racket and hit better serves because of it. Now, another thing I really like about your toss isn't just the height, but also its placement. You can see how your toss is inside the court. When your toss is inside the court, it forces you to jump forward. So watch how you're leaning in, and this is actually the third idea I wanted to talk to you about, but it's very much related to the toss. Look how you're jumping forward and landing inside the baseline. Again, this is not something that I normally see. I normally see players when they serve, they just stay behind the baseline, but not you. You're tossing forward and low, and that's getting you to lean forward into your serve and then land inside the court, which is awesome. In fact, you go forward a little bit after that, which is really great. So no matter what I suggest you change in this analysis, have that low toss. I mean, is it possible to be too low? Of course. So don't go any lower than you are and you're fine. But have that low toss that's pulling you forward into the court because it's already helping you to have a good serve. All right, Kim. So now here are your areas for improvement. Go ahead and take a screenshot of this so you can refer to these on court. I will also at the end be giving you your serve solutions that I'll want you to take a screenshot of as well. This way, very simple, it'll be in your camera roll and you can refer to these when you're practicing, taking a lesson, doing drills, and you'll never forget. All right, number one, we're going to talk about your grip. Two, you are facing forward too much on your serve. I'll explain why that's occurring, by the way. Number three, I just complimented the heck out of your toss, but at the moment, your toss is too far left. So yes, it's low and yes, it's into the court, but I'll be asking you to toss to the right. I'll show you why. Number four, you are swinging too much toward your target. And then number five, we're going to talk about your finish. All right, let's get started. All right, Kim, number one, your toss. Now, if we zoom in here, there is a telltale sign that you do not have the grip that is most efficient and ideal when hitting serves. And it's where your strings are pointing. Notice how your strings are facing down. Whenever a student has their strings facing down, I know that they have a forehand grip. Now, we can look at your hand as you go through the motion, and we can go to contact, and we can see what grip you have. And I'll show you the grip you have and the grip I want you to have. But what I want you to just pay attention to from this point forward is no longer do I want you to start with your strings facing down. I want you to hold the racket in such a way that you actually have your strings angled facing up. Let me show you what I mean. If I put you next to Maria Sakkari, you can see where her strings are facing. Sakkari's strings are facing up. Her racket is at this angle. Strings facing up at about a 45-degree angle. When we look at your racket, like that frame right there, you can see a big difference. Your strings are facing down at a 45-degree angle. That is a 90-degree difference between where you're pointing your strings and where she is pointing her strings. And it's not just Sakkari. Here we've got Sinner and Nadal. Now I reversed the video so that I just flipped it to make it look like he's right-handed. But look at Sinner's racket face. Sinner's racket is open at 45 degrees. Look at Nadal. His racket face open. That's not a coincidence. That is the grip that is causing that. Now, in order to hold the racket correctly so that the racket naturally wants to be open, it's important you understand your hand and the grip itself. So let's talk about the hand first very quickly. There's the base of your index finger and the heel pad. Those two spots, you could basically call it the base knuckle of your index finger and your heel pad. Those two spots need to go on one of the 8 panels on the racket. Now, the racket is straight up and down here, and the strings are facing left and right. That's the correct orientation you want the racket in when you start counting the panels so you can find the grip. The top flat side right there, which many coaches will call a bevel, but I don't like calling it a bevel because what I've learned is that a lot of times people think the corners between two bevels is actually the bevel. And so they think that the bevel is the corner. And so I like to call them panels. And that way nobody gets confused. So panel number 1 is on the top. Since you are right-handed, we count to the right or count clockwise. So this is panel 2. Oops, let me draw that differently. There you go. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. It's just an octagon. And we're just looking at a stop sign here. So the top of the stop sign, if you will, is panel number 1. So this is panel number 2. This is the grip you want. You don't want any other grip. You don't want to use a forehand grip, which currently is the grip you're using. You're currently down here, very low. You're very far away from the grip that you actually want to use. We want to use panel number 2. This is the continental grip. What you'll notice is that panel is 45 degrees. It's at a 45-degree angle. That is what causes the racket face to be open at 45 degrees. If we look at Sakkari again, you can see her racket face is open at that 45-degree angle. Look at the back of her hand. The back of her hand is basically straight up and down. And when your hand is straight up and down and your knuckle and heel pad are on panel 2, that opens the racket. This is why, let's say like this person right here, let's say they're a coach, or this guy right here, he might actually be a coach. He's got like that coach's look, or maybe that's a woman, I don't know, but it's someone. All right, if they're a coach, they should know what grip Sakkari has. Not because they have eagle eyes and can see the knuckle and the heel pad from 150 feet away. All you have to do is look at the racket face. In fact, Kim, if you're at the tennis club and you look around and you see some really high-level college players who maybe you're back for on holiday or back for summer break, if you look at them, what you'll notice is their strings are facing slightly open, or open means up, at the beginning of the serve. And maybe players, their very first day playing tennis, they're on the court next to you, like beginner, never played tennis in their lives. What you're going to notice is their strings are facing straight down. And then as your experience level goes up, no longer is your racket face flat, then it becomes angled. And then after a while, then it becomes straight up and down. And then after a while, then the racket face is open. It's just this it just morphs Right now, you're in this stage where your racket's down at an angle. If you were left to your own devices, after a while, after many years, maybe you would find the grip that allows your strings to be straight over to the side. But we want to, supercharge your improvement and get your grip to be correct. Knuckle and heel pad on panel number 2. When you hold the racket correctly and your hand is straight up and down with your palm facing directly to the left, your racket face will be wide open. So from this point forward, only serve with a grip that allows your racket to be open easily, because that will be the Continental grip. Now, one thing I do want to mention before going to the second idea is it is common when players have their strings down that they bounce the ball with their strings. I don't want you to bounce the ball with your racket, only bounce it with your left hand. So if you're going to bounce the ball before you serve, and I'm not saying you have to, but if you do, because in the videos, I didn't really see you doing much bouncing, and that's fine. If you do bounce, only bounce with your left hand, because if you bounce with the racket with your strings facing down, that's just promoting the wrong grip. That's why beginners, or really anyone like 3-5 and below, I shouldn't call 3-5s beginners, which they're not, but I don't want to pigeonhole this to just beginners. Anyone 3-5 and below, and typically 3-5s and below, have a forehand grip, which is what you have on your serve, not the Continental. They are notorious for bouncing the ball with their strings. And so in order to learn the Continental grip, you actually have to break the habit of pointing your strings down and bouncing the ball with your racket. So from this point forward, if you are going to bounce the ball, only use your left hand to do so. Kim, number 2, you are facing forward too much. So I've got you and Sakari at the lowest point of your knee bend. So Sakari is about to jump up. So right there, she's at her lowest point. You right there are at your lowest point of your knee bend, and then you're going to jump up to serve. I love the fact that you jump. So you've got this deep knee bend, which is great, but just look where her body is facing and look where your body's facing. It's apples to apples. Deuce side, deuce side. We're able to see the front of Sakari. Obviously, we cannot see the front of you. We're looking at your back. So what you'll notice is when she brings her back foot up, she basically turns her back to the opponent. Where when you toss and bring your foot up, you face forward. This is actually due to your grip. Your grip causes you to face forward. I'll explain more as we go along here. But what I want you to get used to is leading with the side of your foot or the instep. And what I mean by that is, and you know exactly what I mean, but this part of your foot, but on the right foot. Okay? Watch how Sakari is she's like shuffling or sidestepping with her right foot. Notice when you bring your right foot forward, you're leading with the toe. You almost look like you're kicking a ball. So just imagine there's a ball here and you're kicking it, right? That's not what Sakari's doing. She's like bulldozing her foot sideways as she brings her foot in. And this means that when she bends her knees, her toes, her shins, her knees, belly button, her shoulders, everything is facing to the side and actually slightly back. She's so turned. Now, obviously, she faces forward as she's hitting. She rotates into the serve. But when she brings her foot up, she has her body completely sideways. When you bring your foot up, your body is facing forward. Here's J.J. Wolf, who played number 1 for Ohio State University a few years ago. And I think he got up to like number 40 in the world. Very high-level player. You can serve 136 miles an hour. Let's look at his feet. Watch how he actually hits his left heel with his right heel. Isn't that crazy? Like, he's not pointing his toes forward. His knees are back. His chest is very much toward the back fence. He's really showing his back to the opponent. Now, this is a bit extreme for where you are. I mean, these are pro tennis players. But I wanted to show you this to kind of give you that North Star, that goal that I want you to attempt. When you bring your foot up, from your right foot up to your left foot, I want you to feel like the instep is leading toward your left foot, not that you turn your foot and then your toe is leading, which is what you're currently doing. I want you, when you bring your foot up and you land your right foot, Kim, to feel like you are completely sideways to the court. I want it to feel so weird that your body is not facing your target, but that your body is actually facing to the side. Again, I will explain why. I just can't yet, but I will explain why. You've got to be sideways when you bring the foot up. Having your instep feel like it's leading and guiding toward your left foot is the way you're going to do that. Number 3, Kim, your toss is too far left. Now, full disclosure, your toss is not too far left maybe in 2 years from now, okay? But it is too far left to learn to use the continental grip and to learn to be more sideways. So if we take a line and we draw a straight line down from the ball, notice that line goes kind of between your heels, okay? If I put you next to Arthur Ashe, this is an old video obviously, if I put you next to Arthur Ashe, this is from an old Vic Braden, who was a tennis coach, Hall of Fame tennis coach, old Vic Braden video I found on YouTube. If you look at his toss placement and we run that same line down, notice that line, or another way to say it is his contact point, is to the outside of his body. So here's his body, the line is outside of it. Here you are, and that line goes through it. So his toss is more to the right. Your toss is here. Ash's toss is over here. I want you to practice tossing not so much in front of you, but more to the right of you. We call this 1 o'clock. So we take a circle and we go like that. And then here's 3 o'clock and 2 o'clock and 1 o'clock and 12, right? And we do the same thing for you, and 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 12. You're tossing at 12 o'clock. He's tossing at 1 o'clock. Here's why this matters. And it has everything to do with number 4, Kim. You are swinging too much toward your target. When you hit the ball, your racket is tracking toward the direction you want the ball to go. And it makes sense. You're like, wait a minute. Why wouldn't I swing the direction I want the ball to go? And you can see on the next one. Look how your racket is tracking out. Like, why wouldn't I, Ryan? Doesn't that make sense? And it does make sense with the grip you're currently using. Everything I've mentioned so far that wasn't the grip is downstream. So facing forward, it's because of the grip. The toss too far left, because of the grip. Swinging toward your target, it's because of the grip. When you use the correct continental grip so that you can hit spin, you can pronate and hit the ball really fast, and you can swing really fast and the ball goes in rather than floating long, which is what most people do when they start hitting harder serves. And maybe you've experienced this. You've got to hit one speed for your first serve and then a much slower speed for your second serve. If that's not you, then great. But a lot of players in the 3-5 and under range will stand or serve way too slowly on their second serve. And it's all because of their grip. But when you have the grip, it dictates where you face, or when you have the forehand grip the way you do, it'll dictate you facing forward, tossing left, and swinging towards your target. Let me show you what happens or where you have to swing when you start using the true continental grip. And why don't we use Taylor Fritz as an example? Here he is playing a tournament. This was like a week before COVID shut everything down in 2020. And I think this was just like maybe he was coming back from an injury. This seems like a challenger event. Yeah, this is like a challenger event. I don't know why he's playing a challenger in 2020. But he's just hitting an ace out wide, and then he wrong foots the guy, right? And check this out. What's really crazy about this serve is we know where this serve goes. Serve goes out wide. But where does he swing? He swings, Kim, toward the WTA logo. Watch his racket. In fact, if I get rid of the ball and I just show you this, where would you think he's serving? Just look at the racket in his arm. You would swear, like, does this guy know? Like, why is he hitting the serve that way? When you hold a continental grip, the last thing you want to do, Kim, is swing towards your target. Because if you have a continental grip, if you have a continental grip and you swing toward the target the way you are, the ball is going to go to the left. And if you've ever had a coach try to teach you a different grip, you know that when you go up to serve, the ball goes left. And if you haven't experienced that yet, no problem, because I'm going to keep you from dealing with that stress and that frustration with this analysis. But if you have dealt with that, you know, like, wait a minute, the coach just ruined your serve, and then you go back to the old grip, and you're like, screw this, I'm not using that grip. I've got a match tomorrow. I've got USTA. I got districts in 3 weeks. I ain't changing my grip. And then it's just frustrating because the serve never goes in. What you have to do is not swing towards your target. Sure, the box is your target, but you swing off to the right as a right-hander. And the reason is when you have the proper continental grip, look how that puts the racket on its edge as you approach the ball. And you can see a big difference. He's about to hit the ball. You're about to hit the ball. His strings are facing to the left. Your strings are facing up. Why? Because of the grip. When you change the grip, it turns the racket face. It changes where the strings point. We learned that at the beginning, the racket face is slightly open rather than slightly closed with a continental grip. So if you have your racket straight up and down like Fritz, and then you go up to the ball and you swing toward the target, the ball is going to go over there. The ball is going to go nowhere near the box. That's why we have to toss more right so that you can swing basically like toward this car, but it's really not over there. You want to swing like to the top of the trees. You actually want to feel like you're swinging up to the right, not just to the right. But you need to swing to the right. And then the strings, and I'll show you this frame right here. Notice his right edge is leading his left edge. That means he's swinging toward the WTA symbol, but his strings are facing left. So think about how a Harlem Globetrotter spins a basketball on their finger. He is going to spin this ball with side spin. And how did he serve this ball? He hit an out wide serve that pulled the opponent off the court. He was leading up with the edge as long as he was to cut along the right side of the ball to spin this ball and get the ball to curve off to the left. So what you have to do is obviously change your grip, be more facing to the right, as I mentioned, toss to the right, all so that you can swing to the right. And if we look at that Ash serve, he's doing the same thing. Look at the direction he's swinging. His racket is not tracking. In fact, if I go like this and you don't see the ball, you'd be like, wait a minute, where is he serving? Like, why is he serving over here? He's not. The ball doesn't go where you swing. The ball goes where your strings point. Look at him. Like, you can tell the right edge is leading the left edge. He's leading up. It looks like he's going to cut the ball in half. That's because of the continental grip. You want to lead with the edge. And then when you hit the ball, you swing to the right with your strings facing left, And that spins the ball. Just again, think of a Harlem Globetrotter spinning a basketball on the finger. You're spinning along the right side of the ball so you don't swing toward your target. Where are the strings facing? To the left. Where is the racket traveling? To the right. So that makes the ball curve. The whole goal here is to get the ball to spin with side spin. Side spin is your friend, Kim. Side spin is the way we control the ball. Toss to the right, swing to the right, leading with the right edge of the racket, and you will get the side spin that curves the ball, and you can serve really fast and the ball stays in. And it's almost like a tornado coming down into the court. And the ball comes right down. It doesn't fight gravity. And you can even hit second serves pretty fast with consistency and force errors. But one of the most amazing videos of swinging to the right is this video of Federer. Here he is hitting an ace down the tee against Cam Norrie. And at first glance, you're like, I can't even tell what's happening, right? It just happens so fast. But check this out. First off, look at where his strings are facing. Strings are facing the target, which is down the tee, right? His body is facing this way. He's not facing the court. We can see his shoes and like his knees, like where his body's facing. But believe it or not, he's swinging over there. He's swinging toward the bench. Watch his racket. He's not swinging straight toward his target. If I get rid of the ball, you'd be like, why is he serving to the guy sitting on the bench? Why is he serving over there? Again, the ball doesn't go where your strings point. I'm trying to beat a dead horse here for a reason. I know I am. It's because I got to get you to trust swinging to the right. You are so used to swinging towards your target, but it's because of the grip. So when you hold a true continental grip, it takes a bit of a learning curve. So stay patient with yourself. It might take you a month, honestly, to really get this. But after a month, it's smooth sailing from there. You're 1 month away from the serve you want. You have to use the continental, have your body to the right, toss to the right, and swing to the right. And the last idea, Kim, is your finish. Specifically, your left hand. So when you're done, your left hand is behind your back. I call this the George and Wheezy, George Jefferson, moving on up, right? You got that left arm behind you and you're moving on up. Believe it or not, when you're done serving, what I actually want you to do is cross your arms in front of your body, forming an X. Let's go back to that Nadal video. By the way, you can see he's at his deepest knee bend and his body's facing to the side as a pinpoint stance server. I want you to look at his finish. What do you notice about his arms? Right there. His arms are crossed. He is waving to the camera with his left hand. His tossing hand is waving on the right side of his body. You can see I reversed it. That says Stadium 1. I just reversed it so that we could watch his serve. His serve was so underrated technically. It was so clean, especially maybe the last quarter of his career, maybe the last third of his career. At the very beginning and even in the middle of his career, 2010, 2011, 2012, he was tinkering a lot with his serve and it wasn't great. But holy smokes, like from 2015 on, his serve was unbelievable, technically. And he crossed his arms. Look at your body, or your left arm. Your left arm is behind you like George Jefferson. Here we've got Leylah Fernandez and JJ Wolf again. And so let's look at Leylah's finish. Arms crossed in an X. And then let's look at JJ. Arms crossed. When you're done, I want your arms crossed in front of you. Here's why. Remember, Your new serve is going to place your toss more to the right, and you're going to be swinging to the right. That means your body should feel like it's staying facing to the right because that's the direction we want to swing. When you throw the left hand behind you, it over-rotates the body. And when your body starts facing left, guess where your swing starts going? Your racket starts swinging to the left. And if you have a continental grip, the ball's then going to go over here. So by crossing your arms, your body will stay at this angle. You can see where your shoulders are pointing right now. Your shoulders are not square and flush to the net. Your shoulders are facing like over above that car right there, right? Your body is facing to the right. I want you to keep your body facing to the right even when you're done. The feeling is that you stay facing to the right so that you can swing to the right. And instead of throwing that left arm behind you, if you actually cross your arms and just give yourself a hug like you're in a straitjacket, when you're done, you will end up feeling like you're finishing with your body facing to the right rather than your body facing off to the left. And this video of JJ is just perfect for this as well. Notice where his chest is facing. His chest is facing to the back fence, okay? We already established that. That's how much coil he has, right? It's crazy. And then right here, now his body is facing basically the net post, okay? His body is facing the net post. Now, we know that you have your left arm going behind you, right? The George Jefferson. And when you do that, it over-rotates the body. And if he were to do that at the speed he's swinging, he would end up facing this guy. Like he would rotate all clear around and we would be looking at his back if he did that. But by crossing his arms, notice he stops rotating. You can actually see it with the logo. When you watch the logo stops as he hits the ball. Watch this. The logo stops. Watch it again. I'm just going to run it. Watch the logo move, and then everything comes to a halt as he hits the ball, and he stops rotating. And you can tell by the blue logo on his left chest. See how it stops? It's great. It's like right there. Right there. It just stops. And it looks like he's waving to someone with his left hand on his right side. So that's the finish. Look at that. He's just like you. He's leaning and he's jumping inside the court, just like you, Kim. That's how I want you to go into the court, hugging yourself. I taught a guy, I have a student in Dubai. In fact, I taught him today. He was my I taught him live on Zoom, which we can do, by the way. You don't have to just do lessons like this. We could do it live on Zoom if you wanted. And I would just do this analysis teaching you, share my screen. The whole thing's recorded, but I can answer your questions. So you can do either type of lesson. But when I taught him, his name is Anant. What I taught Anant is to have a pocket a tennis ball in his right pocket and to grab the ball. It was like sticking out, sort of like not shoved down into the bottom of the pocket, but kind of like at the lip of the pocket, and have him reach and grab the ball with his left hand out of his right pocket in order to learn the X. It's called the power X. Rather than throwing the left hand behind him like George Jefferson, which is what you were doing. Now, he lives in Dubai. I don't think he knows who George Jefferson is. So I didn't use that analogy, but I just told him to give his arms crossed, get his arms crossed. So that's the finish I want you to have. I don't want you over rotating when you're done. I want you to feel like your body is facing to the right when you are done. And having your arms crossed is the way to do that. Don't be afraid to even practice with a ball in your right pocket or maybe under your skirt on the right side. Grab it with your left hand to learn this critical technique. All right, Kim. So now here are your serve solutions. Number one, I want you to use the proper continental grip. Racket should be open to begin every serve. Open meaning up. Now, I did put in parentheses here. It's okay if the face is open less than 45. Don't feel like it's got to be open at 45 degrees. Even if it's open a little bit, 5 degrees, 10 degrees, that's great. I just don't want the racket straight up and down, and I don't want the strings facing down. So don't have the racket like a knife going through butter and don't have the strings down, even if it's slightly open. But the way to make sure that it's open is to adjust the grip, not to just contort your wrist and just like make it happen. You want to hold the racket in a way that when your hand is straight up and down, the racket face is open. That's the true continental grip. And it's required really to do all the other stuff. Number 2, stay sideways, right? When your right foot comes up, feel like your whole body is facing to the right. So when your foot came up, your body opened up to the court, but that's because of the grip. Now with the grip you have, the continental, now when you bring your foot up, you want to feel like you're sideways. You want to feel like your entire profile is facing your opponent. No longer are you going to be facing the court, and that's going to be required because remember, we got to swing to the right, and you're not going to swing to the right with your body facing the net. Number 3, toss to the right. Film yourself and see if contact or if the contact point is slightly outside of your frame. So you saw with Arthur Ashe, his contact point when I drew that yellow line was outside of the frame of his body. When I drew your yellow line, it was through the frame of your body, which means his toss was at 1 o'clock, your toss is at 12. So toss more to the right so that when you bring your body up and your body is turned, you can then do number 4, which is swing to the right. I want you to attempt side spin, like you're spinning a basketball on your finger, Harlem Globetrotter style. I no longer want you hitting flat serves. Really, like from this point forward, the flat serve is very overrated. It's not very consistent. It really doesn't make your opponent struggle. All your opponent has to do is move back a little bit, and they can take away any advantage if you can serve fast. And it's not as consistent on the second serve, so you really have to slow your racket down. So no longer hitting flat. You've got to hit side spin. Even on your first serves, hit side spin, side spin, side spin, side spin on everything. And with practice and determination, you will just ball after ball after ball. You will just learn how to do it. So toss to the right, swing to the right, and you're going to get the side spin for consistency. And then last, the Power X. Cross your arms and feel like your body is facing the right net post when you're done. So I don't want the left hand going behind you and then your body just spins like you're throwing a discus in the Olympics and track and field event. I want your body facing to the right so that you can swing to the right and then cross your arms, and that keeps the body from over-rotating. And that's going to give you the finish like Leylah Fernandez and actually myself. That's the way I finish, obviously. Since I'm teaching it, I'm definitely going to do it. JJ Wolf, Nadal, that's the way I want you to finish. So Kim, thank you again for the opportunity to do this video analysis lesson for you on your serve. My goal whenever I do an analysis is to give you more info than you've ever gotten in any tennis lesson you've ever taken in your life. And I hope I accomplish that. Now, the problem with that is people can get overwhelmed. They can say, oh boy, you want me to do all that? Like, how do I do that? You do it in steps. It's like a recipe, right? It's like baking a cake. Step 1, you get the bowl out. Step 2, you're like, get the flour out. Step 3, like you just follow the recipe. So I want you to think of this as a recipe. So just go out and get used to the serve with your continental grip. Now, just like when you put flour in a bowl, you don't critique how good the chocolate cake tastes. If someone caught you eating flour out of a bowl, it'd be like, man, this baker has no idea what they're doing. This is the worst chocolate cake I've ever tasted. They'd say like, why do you have an opinion on the chocolate cake before it's done? Don't have an opinion on the serve until you're done, meaning you want to go through this process. Learn the continental grip. Film yourself. See if your racket face is open slightly at the beginning. See if you are bouncing the ball only with your left hand. And then when you serve, don't care if it goes in. Literally, the ball, if you don't change anything else, the ball's going to go to the left. Then you go out and you say, okay, I'm going to do that for a week. Then you go out and say, okay, now I'm going to bring my right foot up. And when I bring my right foot up, I'm going to be sideways when I bring my right foot up, really feeling like my knees, my shoulders, my everything, my belly button is facing to the right when I'm done. Do that for a week. Get used to it. Then start tossing off to the right. You do that for a week. Swing to the right. Do that for a week. Well, I'll say this. When you toss to the right, you'll have to swing to the right because that's where the ball's going to be. So numbers 3 and 4, you're going to have to do at the same time. And then the last week, you just worry about crossing your arms. That is a month. Now, and you'll have it. I promise you will have done it enough that you get the sense and the feel, and you'll start to understand, wow, side spin, I'm spinning the basketball like a Harlem Globetrotter. Now, if you do this while you're playing matches, you will hate me for the rest of your life. What I don't want you to do is change the way you serve in your matches. I want you to do this on the practice court, not on the match court. On the match court, hold the racket the way you normally do, just swing towards your target. But when you're on the practice court, you're practicing the grip, the sideways, the toss to the right, swinging to the right, the power X, and you're going through the process. And then when you feel comfortable and you feel ready, you start bringing it out here and there in your matches. Maybe if you're up 40-love in a game, try your first serve with the new serve, tossing to the right, swinging to the right, and you just here and there dabble with the correct toss, the correct swing path, the correct grip. And then as you feel more comfortable, you get to do it more and more in your matches. So take your time through this process. The slower you go, the faster you get there. And there's no doubt you're going to gain confidence, win more matches, and play much better tennis. This is Ryan Reedy from 2MinuteTennis.net. Kim, you got this.